So some of your classmates can also watch it later on. Wait. Bakit to? Teka. Yung pa to. Ah! Teka lang, class. Nasa kabilang screen ko. Ayoko ng ganito. Teka. New share. Wala lang. Sorry. I need it here. Okay. So everybody can see the PowerPoint?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Teka. I hope screen to share. Okay. So today, last session we had we had a discussion for the listening one. So today it would be for the reading section. So for the reading section, mapapansin nyo noon, teka, play natin. Sorry. Okay. Mapapansin nyo noon for the listening section, it's the same for both academic saka sa general. Now for the reading section, it's separate. Separate ang exam for academic, ibang exam ang ibibigay for the academic session. And sorry Fatimaya, you're already online, so I'll start speaking in English. So it's also a separate exam for the people who will take the general module. So again, for the reading exam, it's 60 minutes and you get to answer 40 questions. So it's 60 minutes, no transfer time. So while doing the exam, while reading, you have to transfer your answers on the answer sheet or on the screen. It depends if you're taking the computer-based exam. So you've got 40 items to answer, and the exam, it's divided into 3 sections. So basically, you would be able to read around a total length of 2,150 words to 2,750 words. So that would be around, say, so around 3 pages to 4 pages of reading materials, of A4 reading materials. So what are the type of questions? It's the same like the listening one, but of course it's in a reading format. So you get to answer questions like multiple type of questions, multiple choice, identifying information. Is it either true, false, or not given? Again, as mentioned earlier before during our discussion, this is the challenging one. And a lot of the students get to, they tend to have a lot of mistakes with this kind of questions. But I think after our review, they get to perfect this, and unfortunately, they start having, they get to have difficulties with matching headings, matching information, matching headings. Yes. Especially if you're not used to reading a lot. You know, sometimes because for us, it takes, you know, when you don't read for a long time, you get to black out when you start going back to reading. So for them, for their reading comprehension decreases. So that's why I always tell my students, when you start preparing for exams such as this, you have to go back to reading. Say, start reading every day. Start going, if you love reading packet books before, or fiction items or nonfiction materials, you have to go back to reading, because especially when you start this exam, some examinees tend to black out when they start reading a lot of materials. They tend to black out and they would say like, "Mom, I don't understand anything," or especially when people are stressed, so they tend to black out. So I hope, like, as preparation for your exams, you need to read every day. So again, the other types of questions would be matching, information headings, features, or sentence endings. So it's like you get to match, so for this paragraph, what would be the best title, something like that. Anyway, I would be giving more, as like our previous discussions, I would give you examples, like what are the type of multiple questions that you get to encounter when you do the reading exam. That. So other types of questions would be sentence completion, So again, it's very important. Grammatically, your answer should be correct, especially when it comes to completion type of questions. Summary completion, note completion, table completion, and other types of questions. But basically, these are the types of questions that you would encounter. So again, the articles, the text, they would be taken from books, from journals, from magazines, from newspapers. So it's either like a range of advertisements. So again, it's 3 sections with a total length of 2,150 words to 2,750 words. It's written for non-specialist audience, and sometimes, yeah, you would encounter academic topics of general interest. So what are the so for section one, topics would be relevant to everyday life. So maybe it would be something like if you're looking for like a language center, something like that. Anyway, later you'll see the examples. Section 2, it would be related to work-related issues. Section 3, it would be a more complex topic, but it would be of general interest. So for section 1, they would get it from notices, from advertisements, um, bus timetables, cinema timetables. Remember the examples that we had for the listening exams earlier, or for, yeah, it would be like there would be a timetable for like when would a movie be shown, something like that. So it's everyday topics, day-to-day life or day-to-day topics. So again, so either you would also encounter like community education program topics, so evacuation procedures for a public space, or like for example, remember when you receive advice from your consulate or from your embassy if there are any problems, how to contact them. It would be like that, those kind of announcements. Product return notices. So for example, if you have a car, they would send you letters and they would say like there's something wrong with the brake pad or with the windows for this kind of model. So come to the come to the showroom. We need to do something about it, something like that. Advertisements for foreign language centers, charity cycle ride information pack, and other meal order products. So for section 2, it's related on, the text would focus on work-related issues. So what kind of topics would you encounter? What happened? So these are the topics. So company policies, pay and working conditions. So maybe it's like your labor contract, workplace facilities. So memos that you would receive at work, how to apply for a job, staff development, or maybe those manuals that you have at training manuals also. They would also get, yeah, um, they would also get, say, articles from your training manuals, job descriptions, job contracts, yeah, training materials, policies, company policies, complaint procedures, so standard operating procedures in the office. They would get excerpts from that, and that's what you would see on your exam. So for section D, they're longer. So they would have topics like topics relating to history, car history, printing, the general topics that you would read on an Economist magazine or on Golf News or Time magazine, like that. So again, what are the examples that were given? Calisthenics today, so it's regarding health. Understanding bee behavior, so it's all about science. Science also, robots at work. The history of cinema, what happens when you lack sleep. So those are the kind of topics that you would encounter during the exam. So how to improve your score? First and foremost, you have to develop the skills for each type of question in reading. So we'll go through that later. Then second is you have to know how to skim and how to scan. Skimming is you would know how to get the general idea of each paragraph or each article. And scanning is you get to pinpoint fast where to get the facts or where to get the answers. So how do you do that? Um, yeah, let's watch this video, and Charlie.
In this lecture, I'm going to give you a really important, really useful technique for doing well in the reading test. And it's called skimming and scanning. Now, here is what you may have to read in the IELTS reading test, at least for the academic test. Here you've got 3 texts from the academic IELTS. For general training, you will have 5 or 6 much shorter texts. But for both, you're going to have to read something like 2,500 words, which is a lot. Remember, you have 60 minutes to do the IELTS reading test. You have to answer 40 questions as well. So you do not have time to read these texts word for word. There's too much to read, and I can give you a much more effective technique. And what I'm going to give you is this 3-step technique. So step 1, you skim the text. You skim read. Step 2, you look at the questions. And step 3, you scan. You scan the text for the answers. So basically, you're not going to read the text as you normally would. You're first of all going to skim read, then you're going to look at the questions, and then you're going to scan the text for the answers. So step 1 is skim read. Now, skim reading is not fast reading or speed reading. It's a very deliberate, very specific strategy. And what you've got to do when you skim read is your task is to find out, first of all, what is the topic of the text. So what is the text about? And secondly, what is the topic of each paragraph? So what is each paragraph about? And you're basically going to try and to build kind of like a bird's eye view of the text. A sort of very high up view of the text. Basically so you can see where everything is. You're kind of trying to build a map of the text so you know what's in each paragraph, what each paragraph is about, and what the text is about. Now here's an example text. William Henry Perkin. This is about a British scientist. And if I zoom in a bit, how do we skim read this text? Well, there's several things you can do. First of all, you can look for the headings in the text. Now this text has only got 2 headings. Here's the main heading and the subheading, the man who invented synthetic dyes. Synthetic dyes. So that tells you something about the text. You might have more headings in another text, but you can also look for the topic sentence. This will help you find out what each paragraph is about. And the topic sentence is basically the first sentence in each paragraph, and it often gives you an idea of what each paragraph is about. So this says, William Henry Perkin was born on March the 12th, 1838, in London, England. So you know that this is an English person. You know when he was born. You could possibly guess that this first paragraph is going to be about his early life. You can also look for keywords. Keywords are important words, important content words, often names of places or names of people, which again give you a clue as to what the whole paragraph is about. So you'd have to do this very quickly. It's not an exact science. You just have to guess what's important. So this says, as a boy. Let's have a quick look through. Chance stumbling upon. laboratory. Enthusiasm for chemistry. I think that's important. So you have to have a guess as to what you think is important. So I know now that this first paragraph is about William Henry Perkin. It's about his early life as a boy, and that he was enthusiastic about chemistry. So I haven't read the whole paragraph. So now I'm going to zoom back out and I can show you how you would do this for the whole text. So basically, you read the first sentence of each paragraph, the topic sentence, and then you very quickly scan for keywords in the paragraph. And then you do the same with all of the paragraphs in the text. You read the topic sentence and then quickly scan for keywords. So here I've pulled out some names of people, name of a college. Read the first paragraph, the topic, read the first sentence, the topic sentence, scan for keywords. Read the topic sentence, scan for keywords, read the topic sentence, scan for keywords. And what I will have done by skim reading, and you can use a highlighter on the reading text as well to help you do this. When you finish skim reading, you will have a map of the text. You will have an idea what the text is about, and you will have a good idea what each paragraph is about. And that will help you when you answer the questions. So in step 2, you look at the question, you analyse the question. Here's an example set of questions for this same text. True, false, not given. And here is the question for number 1. Michael Faraday was the first person to recognise Perkins' ability as a student of chemistry. What are the key words here? What are the most important words here? Well, I think Michael Faraday is a very important word. Key words are often names. Was the first I think the first person as well is a key word. I think that's important. To recognise Perkins' ability as... Yes, I think recognise Perkins' ability as well is keywords. So who was the first person to recognise Perkins' ability? Was it Michael Faraday? So now, let's find the answer. And in step 3, you need to scan the text for the answer. So here we have the question on the left. Remember, it's a true, false, not given question. And the text on the right. So Michael Faraday, first person, recognise. Recognise, can you think of a synonym? Maybe saw, Perkins' ability. So let's have a look. Here's Michael Faraday. Okay, so the answer to the question is possibly around here somewhere. You need to look around that particular keyword. So Michael Faraday, eminent scientist Michael Faraday at the Royal Institution. Those speeches fired the young chemist's enthusiasm further. And he doesn't say anything about recognising Perkins' ability. It made Perkins enthusiastic. But so maybe it's not given. But before we write down not given, let's look above Michael Faraday. His talent and devotion. And now talent is a synonym of ability. His ability, his talent and devotion to the subject were perceived is a synonym of recognise by his teacher Thomas Hall. So Thomas Hall was the first person to recognise Perkins' ability because he perceived Perkins' talent. And I assume he was the first person because it was at school. So it was Thomas Hall. So actually the answer is not given. The answer is false because it was Michael Hall who was the first person to perceive Perkins' ability, not Michael Faraday. Okay, so I've written down the answer on the answer sheet. So there you are. That's how you do it. You skim read, you look at the question, you analyze the question, and then you scan the text for the answer. You do not read word for word as you normally would. That's the strategy I always recommend students to follow. Skimming and scanning.
I have class. Ayan. So here's the summary of the skimming techniques. First, you have to notice the title of the passage because it would often give you a general idea about the main idea of the text. Then you have to read the first sentence or two of each paragraph. And sometimes you also need to read the last sentence. You underline the words, then pick out the words that have something in common. Then just ignore words that you don't know. Anyway, later they say like once you read the for example, if you have words that you don't know anyway and you start reading the words around it, you would have a general idea on the meaning of the words. So skimming is it's one of the most important techniques, especially like it saves you time. So you have to practice on your skimming techniques, especially for the reading part of the reading section, the reading part of the exam. Skimming and scanning. As you would notice, if you also answered your Cambridge reviewer, they've also discussed how skimming and scanning is very important. So we'll have an example. So on the next page, it's an extract from an IELTS reading passage. So some of the words are in bold. So let's try and see if it's easier for you. So question is, which paragraph contains the following information? Number 1, a use for helium which makes an activity safer. And number 2, which paragraph contains a term which describes the process of how helium is taken out of the ground. So just have a look at the bold, the words that are in bold, and let me know which paragraph. So I'll give you say 2 to 3 minutes, and you can just unmute yourself and let me know.
Can I share the answer?
Sure.
Okay, the answer for the first one is in the second paragraph
Why?
because it says that it's a cleaning agent and a coolant superconducting magnets.
No, actually, the best thing is, you see, use for helium. You just look for the words that synonymous with use, and if you would see here commercial usage, so immediately you get a general idea. Okay, the answer is found in this paragraph. But it's a good thing also, like it would guide you already. Use and there's usage there already. So it's good also that you were fast. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Number 2.
It was in the first one
Why?
because it says commercially extracted through a method.
Yes. So anything that extraction and taking out. So at least you'd get a general idea. So everybody got hopefully the correct answer. This was an easy one anyway. So I hope everybody got. So for question 1 it's C, and for question 2 it's paragraph B. So usually class yeah, it would be easy. Don't worry, it's easier as you practice along. Another tip to improve your scores for the reading section is you have to develop your speed reading skills. There are a lot of YouTube training videos how to develop your speed reading skills. But usually they say like, okay, you have to use your finger and For example, like hold on. So like for me, when we were in the university and we get to read a lot of articles or a lot of cases, the trick is, and if you would notice, when you start practicing speed reading, uh, like when you use your finger, you get to read faster. So try to practice that. At first, it's difficult. Like you wouldn't understand what the article is all about. But then when you start practicing, guys, start using your finger. Sometimes it's easier, yeah. Sometimes when you have the pencil with you or you have a ruler, and it's an A4. It's full of art. It's just all words. Just try to read. Use a guide. Use a guide. So for us, it's the finger. You develop your speed reading skills. So that's a basic. That's the basis, or that's the basics of speed reading. So hopefully you get to develop your speed reading skills, and that would save you time because it's just 1 hour. And yeah, how many questions you have? You have 40 questions to answer, and you get to read a lot of stuff. You get to reread and reread. So hopefully you have to develop your speed reading skills. I don't have a video here, but the main trick is just use the finger. I don't know. Again, number 4, you don't need to understand the full passage. Remember, you just need to pinpoint where you could get the answer. How do you pinpoint where you get the answer? You just need to read the questions first. Then you go back to the article and try to look for the synonymous words, or if the questions would look for, say, a year and a country, you go back to the article and look for that country. I'll give an example of that later. But then if you find it difficult to really look for the answer, that's when you have to read the whole article or the whole paragraph. But still, it's a no-no. You just need to do skimming and scanning. That's during your first try. So your task is you have to locate your answers only. So again, number 5, because everything is paraphrase, you have to develop your vocabulary, your vocab. Remember a while ago, I was saying like, okay, for the helium example, like for example, where can you find the words that states anything regarding extraction or anything regarding use or usage? So if you have a wider vocabulary, it would be easier for you to pinpoint or to scan or to locate the answers. So that's why for everything, for the listening exam, for the listening section, for the reading section, for the writing section, and the speaking section, one of the they would always advise you to develop your vocabulary. So at least every day, I hope that you have 5 new words every day, hopefully, or 1 new word every day. I think did I send you a link? I'm not sure if I sent you a link. I think I haven't sent you a link yet because there's another game online where you can. I have a list of at least around 500 words, and you get to answer it online. I'll check. I'll check if I sent it. I've sent the link on our WhatsApp group. If not, I'll be sending it today. So you get to practice on your vocabulary too. So they say like the more vocabulary you know, the easier the IELTS reading exam is. Not just the reading exam, but yeah, for all the different types of question. So make sure, see here, some trainers or coaches would even say your goal should be to learn 15 to 20 new words every day. So anyway, once you know a root word anyway, you would have like a plethora of new words later on. So if you get the chance to answer the Norman Lewis book that I forwarded to you earlier, that's also a good thing. Do that if you have the time. And again, as mentioned earlier, you have to read in English regularly. So take time reading, say, The Economist or Time Magazine, or on Facebook, you just need to follow BBC News. Whenever early morning for your coffee, go visit CNN or go visit bbc.com and read an article. First, if it's difficult for you to go back to reading, read on something that you're passionate about or something that you would want to learn. So if you're into plants, read something about plants, how to take care of house plants. So if you're into jewelry making, read on that. So read on something that you're passionate about and you're interested on. And yeah, I assure you, you would get back to reading. And it's easier for you to comprehend the articles once you get to take the exam. Okay. Again, for spotting the keywords, it's important to build up on your scanning skills. And for grammar, again, you have to improve on your grammar because there would be such question types such as summary completion and sentence completion. And in order for your answer to be correct, it should be grammatically correct. At the end of the day, practice makes perfect. So, so again, you have to do your reviews, answer, say, a chapter or two every day if you have the time. I hope, yes, you allot the time. Since I've given you a lot of materials, I hope you have the time. Even if you're quite tired already from work, make time. I know, like, especially when you're tired from work, the reviewers it's like a sleeping pill. At first, it would be like a sleeping pill for you guys. You know, when you start studying, when you want to watch, you don't feel sleepy. But when you start answering for stuff like IELTS, when you start answering for your IELTS, you feel sleepy. So I hope, like, yeah, pinch yourself and study. So again, let's repeat. So what are the strategies? First, you have to skim the passage. Read quickly to get a general content and layout. Then go back, read the questions. Identify the type of question. So this is the general tip. Later on, we'll go through like specific tips and tricks for each type of question. Remember your techniques and tips for that question type. So we'll go through that later. Find a keyword or information in the question to help you locate the answer in the passage. Again, you have to go back, scan the passage by passing your eyes over the paragraphs to find the keywords or information from the question. This would be faster if you use your pencil or your hand. So you have to scan, so it's speed reading. Number 7, when you find the location, read the sentences before and after. So read the sentences around the answer. Always read around the answer to check other information. And number 9, try to understand the few sentences around the location of the answer. So let's go to the reading types. So multiple choice. Wait. So this is an example of a multiple choice type. What's this? Can you see the reading sample, guys, for the multiple choice question? Guys? Are you muted? So this is an example. Where are you now? So this is the article. It's a bit long. And these are the type of questions. So for example, so it's a multiple choice. Choose the appropriate letters A, B, C, or D. So write your answers in boxes 10 to 12 on your answer sheet. So Your answer should be A, B, C, or D only. So research completed in 1982 found that in the United States, soil erosion is A, reduced the productivity of farmland by 20%, B, was almost as severe as India and China, C, was causing significant damage to 20% of farmland, and D, could be reduced by converting cultivated land to meadow or forest. So for example, you've read this question. So how do you look and find, how do you locate the answers? So for us, like for example, go back to the article and look for keywords such as say 1982 US and soil erosion. So let's go back to the article above and look for the keywords. Anyway, usually class, for questions such as this, we can assume that the answer, if it's question number 1, the first question, we can assume that we can find the answer in the first paragraph. But just to be safe, we cannot find anyway 1982 here in the second paragraph. So we go to the first paragraph. So say 1982, it's here. Then you can read around this. And you can find the answers here. You read this, understand, say, read this, 1982 is here. Try to understand this, and then you can answer question number 1. You can find the answer there, right? Because 1982 is here. It talks about topsoil, soil erosion in the United States, so it's there. You should understand it. Number 11, for example, this is the question. By mid-1980s, farmers in Denmark are A, use 50%, B, use twice, C, and D. So again, you have to locate where can you find such information. So use these keywords, 80s and Denmark. So if it's question number 2, it's the second question, either you can assume it's in the first paragraph or second paragraph. Just to be safe, we cannot find any Denmark here on the first paragraph. Second paragraph, it's around, yeah, Denmark is here. Third paragraph, nothing, doesn't talk anything about Denmark. So try to read here and look for the answer here. Since anyway, Denmark is here. Try to understand this and answer the question later down. So try to answer this on your own later. So that basically that's how you should locate for the answers. Screen 2. Okay. So let's go back. So everybody could see again my PowerPoint, right? Class?
Yes, ma'am, I can see.
Okay, yes. Yes, please reply because sometimes I get scared, like what if I got cut off or you get cut off also. So yeah, let me know. Again, this is the most challenging part. Some people like it's quite difficult for them to choose if it's a false or not given. It's easy to say if the article or the question is true or the passage is true, but it's much more difficult for people to check it out if it's false or not given. So how do we go through it? So basically, it's true if it's according to the passage, the information is there. It's false if the information is there, but it contradicts the passage. It is not given, class, if the information is not there. Okay? So, so let's have an example. Wait. So this is an example of of a true or false type of question. So this is the article. It's a general training reading sample task. So read the text below and answer questions 1 to 8. So let's just browse through it. So it's the start. The title is London to Brighton Bike Ride. Start. Just read the titles for the time being. Ride carefully. Following all instructions. Wear a helmet. Attracting assistance. In case of breakdown. Refreshment stops. Rain or shine, be prepared. If you have to drop out, then let's go to the questions. Do the following statements agree with the information given in the text? In boxes 1 to 8 on your answer sheet, write true if the statement agrees with the information, false if the statement contradicts the information, and not given if there is no information on this. So number 1, you should not arrive more than half an hour before your allocated starting time. So anything to do with the arrival is found in, remember, here, the start. So go back and read this. Your start time is indicated by the color of your body number. Please arrive no earlier than 30 minutes before that time. So this is the statement. So the statement below, does it contradict or not contradict? We can find the information here. So your answer should not be not given. It's only either true or false. So based on this sentence, please arrive no earlier than 30 minutes before that time. Does it contradict? Does it agree with the information, this one? Or does it not agree? So is it true or false, class?
True.
It's true. Correct. Okay. Number 2, your rider identity card will be sent to you before the event. So let's go and look for any information on the passage regarding rider identity card. So let's go back to the passage, rider identity card. Let's start from the beginning. Here you don't see anything regarding the rider identity card. Here, do you see anything about the rider identity card? Nothing. Here, do you see anything regarding the rider identity card? Nothing. Here, nothing. Here, nothing. Okay, there's the rider identity card here. So it's only from this paragraph. This one, nothing. Just to be on the safe side here, also nothing. So here, nothing. So let's go back to that. So refer to your route map and make your way to a mechanic's point. Mechanical assistance is free when you show your rider identity card. You must pay for the part. So this is the only passage that talks about rider identity card. Does it say anything about your rider identity card being sent, where is it, to you before the event?
No.
None, right? So the answer should be
Not given.
not given. Let's see if we're correct. Again. Yeah, we're correct. Number 3, some roads may have normal traffic flow on them. So again, you have to look in the passage for anything that speaks about traffic flow or, yeah, if it's normal traffic. So number 3, let's go back. The problem with this kind of exam is you don't get to look for the questions. Like if it's question number 2, at least you have to go to 3rd paragraph. Yeah, it's not fixed that way. It's jumbled. So unfortunately, we have to read everything. So again, what was the passage? Some roads may have normal traffic flow on them. So let's go look for a paragraph that talks about traffic. Remember, nothing about it here in the start. It doesn't talk about anything about the normal flow of traffic. Ride carefully. Here. But we also rely on you to ride safely and with due consideration for other cyclists and road users. Although many roads are closed to oncoming traffic, this is not always the case, and you should be aware of the possibility that there could be vehicles coming in the opposite directions. So it doesn't exactly say, but when you read this sentence, it says there's normal traffic, right? Because cars would go to the opposite. Yeah, there's two-way traffic. That's what you would understand from this passage. So the answer to number 3 is some roads may have normal traffic flow on them, and the passage above states like, okay, again, yeah, roads, there would be opposite traffic, yeah, vehicles coming in the opposite direction, so it's normal. So the answer is what, class?
True.
It's true, yes.
Yeah.
You would notice it doesn't exactly, they paraphrase it. So again, your reading comprehension, you have to improve on your reading comprehension, class. Okay, okay. Helmets are compulsory for all participants. Again, we need to go back up to check if the passage states this, that helmets are compulsory. Let's go look for anything that say about helmets. Okay, here, wear a helmet. Every year, we are delighted to see more riders wearing protective helmets, but we would like to see every cyclist on the ride wearing one. Okay, does this passage say that wearing a helmet is compulsory or no?
No.
No. So the answer is false. Yes. The information is there. So the only alternative answers are true or false. But since the passage states that wearing a helmet is not compulsory, they would like to see. That's a statement, yeah? They would be delighted to see every cyclist wearing one. But the passage did not state that every cyclist should or they are required to wear one. So it's false. Let's go back to okay, number 5. Refreshments are free to all participants during the ride. So let's go back to the passage above, to the article above, and check for the paragraph that states anything about refreshment. So let's go up for refreshment. Where's the refresh? Oh, this one, refreshment. Look out for this along the route. Most are organized by voluntary clubs, and their prices give you real value for money. So there's a price for drinking. So what's the answer? Is it true or false? Class. The statement below states that refreshments are free to all participants during the ride. But in the paragraph above, what does it say? There's prices. Yes, there's a value for buying something to drink. So the statement below is false. Okay. Number 6, if you need a rest, you must get off the road. So let's go back again to the article above and see what paragraph, if we can locate this in the paragraph. If you need a rest, you must get off the road. Okay, anything about rest? Refreshment stop? No. So it's either here. If you have to drop out, no. You try. It's not there, right? In case of breakdown, nothing. Nothing, right? You cannot find anything. Wait. Not, yeah, this is regarding about that if you, but you have just stopped for a rest and don't need help. It doesn't say anything about you going off the road, right? Let's see. So if it's not given, let's see if we're correct. If it's not given, number 6 should be not given. Yeah, it's not given. We cannot find anything, any passage there that states that you have to get off the road. Nothing. Number 7, first aid staff can provide cycle capes. Let's go see anything about cycle capes or first aid staff. Cycle capes are used when it's raining. So let's read this one. In the event of very bad weather, watch out for signs. Good waterproof like a cycle cape are essential. Our first aid staff can only supply bin liners. And by the time you get one, so the first aid staff can only supply bin liners. They cannot supply cycle cape. So the information is here, but it contradicts the sentence here. So the answer should be what, class?
False.
False. Number 7, are we correct? We're correct. Number 8, bike events will charge you for the return of your bike. So let's go up regarding return of bikes. So it's only here. If we will try to pick your bike for you on the day, call bike events no more than 2 weeks after the ride to arrange collection. Sorry, we cannot guarantee this service, nor can we accept liability for any loss or damage to your bike. Bike events will hold your bike for 3 months, after which it may be disposed of. You will be charged for all costs incurred in returning your cycle. So they say they will charge you. Yeah. Bike events will charge you for the return of your bike. So it says here, you will be charged for all costs incurred in returning your cycle. So what's the answer, class? Is it true or false?
True.
True. Let's see if you're correct. True. It's easy, right? No, sometimes it's a bit, you just need to practice. If you find it difficult, it's a bit difficult at first, but yeah, it's easier in time. Okay. So let's move on. So again, it's true if you can find the information in the passage and it agrees with the statement. Again, false if you find the information but it contradicts the statement. And not given is you cannot find the information. So remember that, class, when answering this type of questions. Again, how do you prepare for such type of questions? You need to be good in paraphrasing. Remember, yeah, they don't exactly say the correct answer, or you have to understand it in between the lines, even like that. You have to look for meaning. You have to be good at that. So again, another example. So let's answer these. Do the following statements agree with the information given in reading passage 1? In boxes 1 to 7 in your answer sheet, write true, false, or not given. So these are the statements. We'll go through them one by one. Okay, what's the technique? So read the facts slowly to make sure that you fully understand what it says. So for example, question 1 was, chronobiology is the study of how living things have evolved over time. So one trick is, they say, turn that statement into a question. So is chronobiology the study of how living things have evolved over time? So after that, when you turn that into a question, you need to go back to the passage. In this example that we have now, I've already pinpointed the passage. So we'll read the passage. So this is the passage. Chronobiology might sound a little futuristic, like something from a science fiction novel, perhaps, but it's actually a field of study that concerns one of the oldest processes life on this planet has ever known: short-term rhythms of time and their effect on flora and fauna. So it's short-term rhythms of time. So when you think you have found the answer, read the text carefully to determine if you think it is true, false, or not given. If the answer to the question you form is yes, then it is true. If the answer is no, then it is false. Let's go back. What was the question? Chronobiology is the study of how living things have evolved over time. But the passage states that chronobiology, it's a field of study regarding short-term rhythms of time. So what do you think is the answer, class? Is it true or false?
False.
False, because it contradicts, right? This passage states it's short-term, but the question here, it says living things have evolved over time. So evolution takes time. So it's false. So the reading passage uses the words short-term rhythms of time, while the question fact says how living things have evolved over time. Evolving over time refers to something that happens on the long run, on a long-term basis. So this one is false. So you guys are correct. Okay, another example. So remember that questions will probably use synonyms rather than the words in the text. So another example is, the rise and fall of sea levels affect how sea creatures behave. So let's see if it's true or not given in the passage. Again, I've already pinpointed the passage. So this is the question, class. The rise and fall of sea levels affect how sea creatures behave. So this is the passage. Marine life, for example, is influenced by tidal patterns. So this is the passage there. So sea creatures here is used instead of marine life. Also, the rise and fall of sea levels is used instead of tidal patterns. So they've used synonyms. So this one, it's true, right? Got it, class?
Yes.
Let me know if I'm very fast.
It's okay.
Yes, don't be shy, later. So again, the rise and fall of sea levels affect how sea creatures behave. And this is the passage. So they just change it. They just use synonyms. So it's true. Again, look out for words that qualify the sentence or make the sentence restrictive in some way. So for example, adjectives like only, little, all, some, always, never, or sometimes. Look out for these words because sometimes some questions will alter the meaning of the statement. So for example, this is the question number 4. Question number 4 states the fact that circadian rhythms identify how we do different things on different days. So let's go to the passage if it agrees to this, if it's true, if it's false, or if it's not given. So again, this is the question number 4. Circadian rhythms identify how we do different things on different days. So this is the passage. So when it comes to humans, chronobiologists are interested in what is known as a circadian rhythm. This is the complete cycle our bodies are naturally geared to undergo within the passage of a 24-hour day. So here, different days and 24-hour days, they become qualification statements. So we can easily say that this fact is false, right? Because in the earlier statement, circadian rhythms identify how we do different things on different days. But on the passage, it says circadian rhythms pertains to anything that goes for 24 hours a day. So it's false, class. Okay? Another example. Usually, if you find you are spending a lot of time looking for the answer to that question, then probably you can assume that the information is not given, class. Don't create stuff. So better like, you can say like, it's not given. So let's say, this is the example. Sino the disconnect? Si Romel. Romel, okay. So question 3 states the fact that most animals are active during the daytime. So this is the question or the statement. So let's see if it's true, false, or not given. This is the passage, a rather long one. Animals tend to be active or inactive depending on the position of the sun or moon. Numerous creatures, humans included, are largely diurnal. That is, they like to come out during the hours of sunlight. Nocturnal animals such as bats and possums prefer to forage by night. A third group are known as crepuscular. They thrive in the low light of dawn and dusk and remain inactive at other hours. So, as you would see above, although the passage talks about when animals are active, it does not mention when most animals are active, right? So when you read this, it doesn't say they are more active during the day or they are more active during the night. This passage just state, okay, some animals are active during this time and some animals are active during this time. So the answer is not given. You got it, class? I hope, class, where are my students?
Yes, I got it.
Yes, clear.
Okay, that's good. So another example is true or false or yes, no, or not given. It's the same. So for example, so this is an example. If it's yes, if the statement agrees with the claims of the writer. No, if the statement contradicts the claims of the writer, and not given if it's impossible to say what the writer thinks about. So these are the statements. Again, I will give you the passages so you can compare. Does it if the statement agrees with the claim, is it yes? Does it disagree if it's a no or if it's not given? So for example, so let's go back. This is the statement. The U.S. Congress understood the possible consequences of the HPA. Remember, class, this is the statement. The U.S. Congress understood the possible consequences of the HPA. So I'll show you the passage, check, decide if it's a yes, no, or not given. So this is the passage. Although intended to settle the original cause of the reserve by a U.S. Congress ignorant of its ramifications, the result of this fire sale is that global helium prices are so artificially deflated that few can be bothered recycling the substance or using it judicially. So class, is it yes or no? Again, let's go back to the statement. The U.S. Congress understood the possible consequences of the HPA. So does this statement agree with the claims of the writer? Does this statement contradict the claims of the writer? So this is the passage. U.S. Congress is ignorant of its ramifications. Does it contradict or does it agree, class?
Contradict.
It contradicts because again, the first statement, it says U.S. Congress understood. In the passage, it says U.S. Congress is ignorant. So it's the opposite, complete opposite. So it's a no. Okay, good. So the question statement contradicts the statement of the writer. Again, be aware that the words used in the statement questions will often be synonymous. It's the same trick like earlier, like I mentioned, or they will have similar meanings. So again, when you read the passage, after you read the statement of fact, And when you go back to the passage, don't look for the exact words, class, always. So for example, in the statement, it says helium chooses to be on its own. This is the question statement. In the passage, it's already given here, helium is even cheerfully derided as a loner element since it does not adhere to other molecules like its cousin hydrogen. So class, is it yes? Does it contradict or does it not contradict? If this is the statement in the passage and this is the statement in the question. Does it contradict or no?
Contradict.
Helium chooses to be on its own. Yeah. In the statement, helium is even cheerfully derided as a loner element. So it's the same meaning, class. So it doesn't contradict. It's the same meaning. They just rephrase it in a way. Because see here, helium chooses to be on its own. And in this passage, it says, helium is even cheerfully derided as a loner element. So if it's a loner element, it doesn't like to be, doesn't like to bond, doesn't like to socialize with other elements. So it's a yes. So the answer is yes, this statement agrees with the writer. Okay, class? Again, if you are finding it very difficult to find the information, again, there's always a high probability that the answer is not given. So this is an example. So the question in the statement is, helium is a cold substance. So let's see if it contradicts. If it's a yes, does it agree? No, does it contradict the passage below, or it's not given? So this is, helium is a cold substance, and this is the relevant passage. So helium, an inert, odorless, monoatomic element known to lay people as the substance that makes balloons float and voices quick when inhaled, could be gone from this planet within a generation. So class, is it a yes, no, or not given?
Not given.
Not given. Because, anyway, in this statement, you cannot see anything that say helium is a cold substance, or it doesn't even say anything like helium is a hot substance, right? So it's either the opposite. So you cannot find anything. So it's not given. That's correct. So again, be careful. Again, there would be some restrictive words that change or qualify the statement. So this is the example. 30% of deaths in the United States are caused by smoking-related diseases. And this is the passage. Smoking, it is believed, is responsible for 30% of all deaths from cancer and clearly represents the most important preventable cause of cancer in countries like the United States today. So is it a yes, no, or not given? Not given, class? Are these statements the same? Do these statements contradict each other? Or class?
They are the same, I think.
The same.
They're not the same, class. Why? Because here it says 30% of deaths in the United States. If you would read this, it will say 30% of deaths from cancer. There is this word that qualified it. So they're not the same, so it's a no. Always check those qualifying words that make the statement really different. So note the bolded words. If you just scan the passage, you might have quickly answered this question as a yes, like all of us do. Yeah, at first glance, it would look like it's a yes, right? However, the correct answer is no, as only 30% of all deaths from cancer. It doesn't say not all types of deaths, right? So again, the answer should be no. Again, so matching. Matching headings. A lot of students also find this difficult, but it takes practice also. For me, I find it also difficult. But the good thing about matching headings is you have to be good in skimming. Practice skimming, so it's easier for you to get a general idea. So what's the sample? Wait. So this is a matching heading type of question. So the text has 7 paragraphs, A to G. So these are the paragraphs, A to G. So the topic is robots at work. Then choose the correct headings for paragraph A, B, D, and G from the list of headings below. Write the correct number.
Ma'am, we can't see it.
You cannot see it? New share,
No.
wait. New share, sorry. Okay, there. Thank you. Thank you for saying. There. Now you can see, class?
Yes.
Cool. Okay, so this is a matching heading type of question. So this is for questions number 27 to 37. The text has 7 paragraphs. They're titled A to G. So it's A to G, A, B, C, D, and G to G. You have to match these headings with the paragraphs. So your answer should only be like the correct number. So it's either small Roman numeral 1, 2, Roman numerals 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on and so forth. So this should be your answers, I to IX. So 1 to 10. So for paragraph A, which is the best heading? Is it I, number 1, number 2, number 3? Like that. The best thing here is, usually, the trick is, you have to read the first sentence and the last sentence, so you can have a general idea what's the general idea in the paragraph. Then from there, you have to check, does the paragraph talk about robots working together, or does the paragraph talk about preparing LGBs for takeover, looking ahead, like that. So that's the trick. I know it's a bit difficult, but at most, trick is you just need to read first and the last so you can have a general idea on what the topic is. But if you're not used to that, the best thing is, unfortunately, you need to read everything. But first, try to just read the first and second sentence and see if you got the correct answer. So this is one of your assignments later. Just answer this on your own, class, okay? But that's the trick. So again, let's say paragraph B. What's the best heading? Should it be 1, 2, 3? How would you know? Right, paragraph B. B is, okay, so read here and read here. At least you will have a general idea on what the paragraph is talking about. So which is the best heading? Just choose. I know this is a bit difficult, but yeah, practice. Oh, where are my other students? Maribel and Romel. Maribel, Romel, kayo lang?
Kami nga lang.
Maribel lang nawala ng iba. Teka, ano nangyari? Si Romel. Baka, wala pa naman ako narinig na adan. Sino pa yung iba? Anyway, we're recorded, so it's good. So let's go to another. So try to answer this on your own. I'll be sending this later anyway on WeTransfer or on, yeah, I think on WhatsApp, it's not, yeah, it's too much. So you can see the PowerPoint, class?
Yes.
Okay. Yan, matching information naman, sometimes this is much easier, actually. Sample natin. Mas madali ito actually, yung matching information. Can you share? This is the easiest one. You can also do this on your own. But let's answer, let's say 1 to 2 questions. So questions 1 to 8. You would notice, yeah, if it's section 1, it's easier. Section 2, it becomes much more difficult. Section 3, it's the most difficult. It's the same like the listening exam. So for section 1, questions 1 to 8, look at the 5 advertisements A to E. So these are the advertisements, the ads. So A to E. Which advertisement mentions the following? Write the correct letter A to E in boxes 1 to 8 on your answer sheet. You may use any letter more than once. So again, class, it's always good to read the directions. Because sometimes maybe you would say, hindi ko pwede, I cannot repeat the answers, right? So for example, number 1, which ad states that there are up-to-date teaching systems? So let's go through the ads. Does this advertisement say anything about up-to-date teaching systems? Wala, di ba? Dito, meron bang up-to-date? Ito lang, siguro ito, latest methods. Kasi up-to-date, di ba? So, okay, say, itong answer natin, letter B, just to be on the safe side. Sa ibang advertisement, meron bang nagsasabi na up-to-date? Wala. Letter D, meron bang up-to-date? Wala. Letter E, meron bang sinasabi na up-to-date? Wala rin. So the best answer is letter B. Ganun lang siya, class. So for example, that the institution has been established for a significant time. Anong advertisement ang nagsistate na ganito? Sakit na. The institution has been there for a significant amount of time. Ito, our advertisement A, wala. Advertisement B, wala. Advertisement C, wala. Advertisement D, wala. Wala namang sinasabi na matagal na sila. Ito, advertisement E, the Sol Center has been there for more than 24 years. So, ito lang naman so far, di ba? So, ang sagot is letter E. So, try to answer this on your own later, class. This is one of the easiest, actually. So, let's go to, again, PowerPoint. So, na. So, another one is matching features. Ano to? Let's open it. Okay, this is an example of a matching feature type of question. So I hope you can see this. So this is the article or the passage. It's quite long. And these are the type of questions. So first, you have to go to the questions. Questions 34 to 40. Look at the following statements, questions 34 to 40, and the list of countries below. So these are the list of countries. Match each statement with the correct country, A to J. So write the correct letter A to J. So it's either A, France, B, Germany, C, USA, in the boxes. And you may use any letter more than once. So it helped other countries develop their own film industry. So what country helped other countries develop their own film industry? Was it A, France, B, Germany, C, USA? So how will you know the answer? Go back to the passage. The good thing about this type of questions is, class, usually, ang tawag doon? Magkakasunod. So if it's the first question, you can assume that the answer is, you can find the answer sa first paragraph. So, just read the first paragraph and see which country helped. What is the question? Help other countries develop their own film industry. So let's read the first paragraph. Although French, it was above all the French, followed closely by the Americans, who were the most passionate exporters of the new invention. So sabi above all the French. Again, in terms of artistic development, it was again, so it was France, right? So let's say, what's the answer? France, so letter A. Let's see if we're correct. Oh yeah, we're correct, letter A. So again, biggest producer of films. So again, you can assume, class, na since this is the second question, you can find the answer in the first or the second paragraph. Just, yeah, that could save you time. So just look. So in the end, it was the US, the largest single market, and so basically we can say it's the US, tama ba? So if it's the US, letter C. Ano ba? Letter C ang sagot. So try to answer this again on your own, class. As a practice. Okay lang kayo, class, or masyadong maraming information? Ma'am, I have to take leave. Some guests are here. Ah, okay. Ah. Hindi siya nagdasal. May guest. Okay, new share. Saan na tayo? Okay. So, again, for matching sentence endings, make sure na you're grammatically correct, class. It makes sense logically, and it should agree with the information after reading the passage. So, anong example? Again, it's very important, ha, class. You have to read the directions. Remember, last time I taught you, like, no more than 3 words. Make sure, like, if there are directions like this or instructions like this, your answer should only be 2 words, 3 words, 2 words and a number, 3 words and a number, 1 word and a number, or a number. Yun yung mga option, di ba? Just put that in your head always. So, let's see, what's the example? Sentence completion. So this is a bit long. Again, go straight to the questions. No need to start reading the passage. Go straight to the questions. No more than 2 words from the text. So write your answers in the boxes 38 to 40. So Von Fitch discovered the difference between dance types by changing the position of the. So you have to say, look for words or synonym words. So okay, look for Von Fitch, then dance types and position maybe. So go back to the passage and look for that. So when you find those keywords, read around them. So number 2, for example, the dance outside the high points in the direction of. So again, you have to look for, say, dance, high points, direction. Something that relates to this in the passage. Again, sometimes it's good na, since if it's a first sentence, first question, you can assume that you can find it in the first paragraph. Pero if not, you have to read everything. No? Anyway, ang maganda dito, class, sometimes may mga passages, mga ito, halimbawa, magbibigay sila ng passage na ganito, dalawang klase ng, or tatlong klase ng question types ang ibibigay sa inyo. So sometimes may sentence completion, may matching heading, tapos merong ibang question type. So ang maganda doon, kahit paulit-ulit, nakaka-save pa rin kayo ng time. Kaya, don't worry. Ano pa? Short answer. Wait. This is another example. Maya. Wait, class, ha? So, this is a short. Anong oras na? 6:33. Kailan tayo nag-start? 5. Oh. Class, can we have a break? Robel? Maribel?
Okay lang po.
Break tayo ng 5 minutes or 10 minutes? Ano sa tingin nyo? Gusto ko uminom. 5 minutes lang, no? Break tayo ng 5 minutes and we continue.
Okay.
5 minutes lang. Inom lang ako. Teka.
Okay.
Right. Hello, class. Are you around?
Dito po.
Okay. Maribel, are you there? Wala pa? Kayong dalawa na lang. Teka. Share. Maribel! Hindi natin si Maribel, Romel.
Okay.
Oo. Hindi. Ang haba pala ng 3 oras, no?
Is it okay lang po ba, book sa test?
Ha?
Okay lang po mag-double booking?
Ng IELTS exam?
Oo. Hindi ba question yun?
Hindi, okay lang. Kailan? Ano yun? 2 weeks ang pagitan or 3 weeks?
Maybe 2 weeks.
Nagbayad ka talaga ng for dalawa?
Hindi pa plan pala.
Alam mo sa kanila, it doesn't matter as long as they get the money and you pay. Diba? You book for an exam on this date and you book for another exam on another date, it won't matter to them as long as you pay. Diba?
Money matters.
Yes, at the end of the day. Kasi sometimes parang, if you have the money and you feel na, sige, at first parang ang tawag doon, practice run mo lang yung first, pero gusto mo magbayad. May mga tao kasi, di ba, sometimes they go for an exam, for the second time around, it's less stressful for them. So, why not, di ba? Go.
Parang yun din yung strategy.
Di ba? Or wag naman 2 weeks, gawin mong 3 weeks or 3 weeks at least, no? 2 weeks. Pwede rin, no? Why not? Pwede rin naman. Basta may budget. If there's a budget, walang problema. Okay, Maribel.
Yes, ma'am.
Sige, nandiyan ka na. Let's start. Kasi kayo lang ni Romela. Gusto ko to, dalawa lang kayo. Okay. So, questions 4 to 8. Answer the questions below. Choose no more than 3 words and or a number. Again, remember itong mga special na mga instructions nila. Sorry. Write your answers in boxes 4 to 8 on the answer sheet. So before reading go back to this. I read the questions, what has been found in some fancy food products. So, pwede natin i-assume as usual na for the first question, you can find the answer in the first paragraph. Lagi ganun yung assumption. So, what has been found? This is a short answer question. The pieces of metal. So, what has been found, class? Number 4. Sinagot ko na pala, no? Narag. Romel and Maribel, what has been found?
Bonus.
So, it's either pwedeng metal pieces of metal, yun. Yun yung magandang, pwede nyo i-reword. So, basta ang answer nyo would be within this. Diba? Dapat 3 words, 2 words, 1 word, with a number. So, those are the options. So, it's either you can say metal pieces of metal, ganon. Where can you find the batch number on the jars? So, where can you find the batch number on the jars, class?
Sa printed on the bottom.
Printed on the, okay. So, the number of words again. So, what should be your answer? Bottom of jar, jar bottom, ganun lang. 3 words ang pinaka-maximum. So, you cannot say, Romel printed on the bottom of jar. Okay?
Max of 3 words.
Kasi no more than 3 words and our number. Make sure, ha? Then you can answer this on your own later. So, let's move on sa ibang question types. Sana tayo? Screen 2. So this one, another example is note, table, diagram, or summary completion. Again, it's very important. Spelling mo should be correct, grammatically correct, mga ganyan. Lagi pag completion type of questions, yun ang very important. Saka yung number of words, yung mga ganyan na mga instructions nila. So this is an example of a flowchart completion. Mga labeling lang naman to Napansin nyo, itong example na pinapakita ko, it's the same article like previously na pinakita ko na naman. So, it's another robots at work. So, sa exams, makikita nyo, inuulit-ulit lang nila. So, same article, tapos iba-ibang question types. So, sometimes, Lalo na pag mga ganitong article na mahaba, tapos may matching headings, madali na sa inyo later na sagutan itong mga to, the production process. So, no more than 3 words. Since kanina, siguro marami na kayong nabasa sa matching headings, mas madali nyo malalaman kung saan yung hahanapin yung sagot nito. Yun rin yung kagandahan sa IELTS na hindi laging maraming articles or maraming passages. So, they repeat the passages, they recycle, and mas madali sa inyo kasi nabasa nyo na. So, it's easier for you to fill in the blanks. Ganun siya. I'll show you a video that paano kaya ito?
Okay, and welcome to the general reading.
Teka. You can see the video, class?
Yes.
Nakikita nyo? Sige. I-play ko. It's quite long. It's 16 minutes. So, maybe you can just sit by and relax. This is another way of looking at the questions. Kasi usually I combine yung iba't ibang tips and tricks ng mga coaches. So this is another So this is a summary of the reading strategies. So let's have a look at them and watch. It's quite long, 16 minutes, so sit back and relax.
Okay, and welcome to the general reading section of the course. As you know, in this section of the course, we're going to be going through the specific analysis and specific strategies for each question type. You're going to have several lectures in this section that actually break down each specific question. As I've told you before, or you may have heard before, the reading strategies for the academic section and the general section are actually the same. So if you are coming over from the academic side to watch some of these videos, the strategies being talked about are actually really, really good. And sometimes when you're first learning about the IELTS exam, and you're just being introduced to the reading section, even if when you're an academic student, right? When you're an academic student, one moment while we get rid of that little box. When you're an academic student, sometimes you are thinking about how to do the yes, no, not given question, for example. And sometimes it's actually easier to be introduced to it through the general reading, because the general reading is actually a little bit simpler than the academic, but it gives you a good introduction to strategy and tactics, because sometimes that's the first thing you're focusing on, strategies and tactics, before you really get into the complexities of a reading passage. But anyway, in this very first video, the only thing I'm going to talk about in this first video are the different question types that you're going to see on the general reading or the academic reading. And so when we talk about the different question types, right, we have some different question types. But to start off, before we even go to that point, or go to review that, the reading section is really a combination of two real skills. It's the combination of scanning and comprehension. When I talk about comprehension, of course, you have the sentences within the passage and the questions, but also when I say the word comprehension, I'm also including within that synonym language, because the IELTS reading is all about vocabulary synonym language. You have to be able to understand and comprehend synonym language, and you have to be able to scan and find the matching and correlating sentences for the different question types. So doing well on the reading section is really a combination of those two skill sets, scanning and comprehension. And one thing that you may have heard me recommend to students in some of the live videos, and I'll say it again here, is that you have to take the time to work on specific skills that are going to make you better. So I think it's actually a great idea to sometimes not even worry about when you're looking at a reading passage or looking at questions. It's sometimes a great idea to not even focus on answering the questions. Just work on your scanning ability. Work on your scanning ability. Work on improving your speed at finding the matching sentences for the questions that go in order. Work on finding the matching sentences, the correlating sentences. Get better at that. Get more accurate at that. Work on that skill set. Okay? Work on that skill set. Try to get faster at it. But you have to sometimes just practice that specifically. Some people just like to take a whole test, right? But they don't work on the skills that are going to actually make them better. All right, now let's go ahead and get into these different types of questions. You, of course, have the fill-the-blank question. The fill-the-blank question is one of the easiest questions on the exam. And the fill-the-blank question, you can see the strategy there. I'm not going to necessarily go over the strategy right now. When we go over the specific questions in different passages, I will be going over strategy and going through 1 through 6 and what that means. But we have our fill-the-blank question, which is one of the easiest questions. It goes in order. You have your sentence completion question on the right side. As it says there, it goes in order mainly. And I say that because I've seen a situation before, I can't recall it specifically, where it didn't necessarily go in order. It may have been one of those situations where you have two questions in the same paragraph and they have them inverted. But I say mainly, but it's I would probably say like 90% of the time from what I've seen and observed in going through all these passages is that they go in order. You have your short answer questions. Your short answer questions are the questions that just ask you to provide a 1 to 3 word answer to specific questions. Right? You want to always make sure you pay attention to how many words are allowed in the instructions in an answer, because if it says your answer can be no more than 2 words and you put 3 words, they are marking that wrong. You have your flowchart questions, which go in order. If I didn't say it, the short answer question goes in order. Your flowchart questions are those questions where they have one question, then they have an arrow pointing down, and then they have the next question, they have an arrow pointing down. Those are the flowchart questions, and they go in order. And then finally, you have your multiple choice questions, which go in order. You want to note with the multiple choice questions that sometimes the questions, the questions, and also sometimes the answers can come from a combination of 2 sentences. So you just want to be aware of that. And then you have, which is for some students, the dreaded yes, no, not given question, or true, false, not given question. For me personally, is not that much of a complex.
Remember, class, if it says the questions go in order, yun yung minimension ko kanina na, for example, if it's question number 1, assume na you can find the answer in paragraph number 1 or paragraph number 2, yung mga ganyan, yung the first few paragraphs. So if it's question number 2, again, you can assume that you can find the answer in, magkakasunod siya. So it's either in paragraph number 1 or paragraph number 2. Yun yung, kaya may mga questions dito, sinasabi niya, ang strategy, you don't need to read the whole passage. Go directly to paragraph number 1 because anyway, if it's question number 1, the question, they go in order. So, yun, mas madali na sa'yo mag-pinpoint or mas madali na sa inyo saan nyo malolocate yung answer. Okay?
Complicated question. I think students sometimes overthink it. And where students mess up with their yes, no, not given question is because they actually start making inferences. And making inferences is not required. The IELTS exam does not deal with inference questions, actually. Now, if you're taking the TOEFL exam, then yes, you do have inference questions. But for the IELTS exam, that's where students really mess up, as they start making inferences. Well, maybe this, well, maybe that, but maybe this, but maybe that. You don't do that with a yes, no, not given question. And we'll talk about and walk through the strategy more specifically when we go over that particular or that specific question type. Down there at the bottom, it has a note in terms of watching for starting point sentences or watching for sentences that have semicolons and ands. Sometimes with these questions that go in order, the question sentence might be actually, you might have starting point language. What that means is sometimes they'll take two sentences and create one question. And there'll be certain language in the question that is from one sentence, and then the other part of the language in the question is actually what's being used for the true, false, not given, or for the fill the blank question. And so when that situation happens, that there's a part of the sentence that's really just a starting point, and then the second sentence is actually what's being used for the comparison, for like a yes, no, not given question. And sometimes you see the same thing with the semicolon. You might have a sentence with a semicolon in the passage, in the reading passage, and a semicolon is really a separation of two clauses. And what they're doing many times is they'll take that sentence in the reading passage that has a semicolon separating the two clauses, and then they'll make it or create it into one sentence for a question. And when that happens, you have to be aware again that we're dealing with the starting point situation. And when we come across that situation in the specific question analysis, then I'll point that out to you. Okay. All right. Now, those are all these first questions that we've gone through all the questions that go in order. So if you're not clear what it means by going in order, what I mean by that is after you have question 9, say for example question 9 is in paragraph 3, after that you'll find question 10, after that you'll find question 11, and then after that you'll find question 12. Those questions go in order. Okay? It doesn't necessarily mean they go paragraph by paragraph. Question 9 might be in paragraph 2, and then question 10 might be in paragraph 4. All right? And then after question 4, you'll find after question 2 in paragraph 4, then you'll find question number 3. However, if question 1 is in paragraph, let me say it a different kind of way. If question 9 is in paragraph 2 and question 10 is in paragraph 4, that means that question 11 is not going to be in between those two. Question number 11 has to come after question number 10. So I hope I made that clear. All right, our other question types are a summary question, which is where they have a paragraph. It is basically a fill-the-blank question, but sometimes they're taking sentences from different paragraphs and smashing them together into a summary. You have a paragraph location question. One of the more challenging questions for most students. Most of the time, you're going to see this question in reading passage number 3. And I'll save that for the end about reading passage 3. You also have your matching question, which is where they'll give you several names in a box, and you have to match the name in the box to one of the questions. Most of the time, you're looking at what somebody said and matching what they said to one of the questions. That's a matter of, again, if you're being able to recognize synonym language. You have this question. It says something like, which section are the following statements true for? I should have an S on there at the end of statement. I have to make that correction. Which correction are the following statements true for, I should say. This is really like the old classification question they used to do on the academic test, which you don't really see that often anymore. But basically they're asking you, you have different statements, and they're saying, well, this statement, which section does it belong to? All right, which section does it belong to? Which classification does it belong to, really? That's the way I think about it. I mean, I'm not sure if you've heard it thought about differently, but for me, in my mind, that's what it seems like they're doing here. Then you have your headings question, and you have your which section contains the following. This is the same as the which paragraph has the following. It's a paragraph location question. It's just worded differently. And the last thing I was going to talk about, I started talking about it, but then I stopped talking about it, is dealing with Section 3. Section 3 on the general reading test. Section 3 really is a reading passage that's the same almost as the academic. All right, is at the same difficulty level at the academic. So if you're an academic student and you want to use some extra practice, look at some of the Section 3s from the general reading tests, because those have the same difficulty level as the academic test. And so I wanted to say that about Section 3. The way it works on the general reading is Section 1 and Section 2, I would say are much easier than the Section 3, right? They're much the passages are shorter, they're not as dense, and they're much more easy to manage. So sections 1 and 2 can actually be a breeze for you if you know what you're doing. And that's what we're going to do in this section of the course for general reading is, make sure you know what you're doing. And then when you get to Section 3, you have to do something that's more on the level of the academic test. Okay? And the reason why they do that is they have to be able to separate a student that's an 8 or a 9 from a student that is a 5 or a 6. A student that's a 5 or a 6 is going to have a hard time doing Section 3. A student that can get a score from a 7 to a 9 is going to be able to more manage the difficulty level in Section 3. So that's why Section 3 is harder. It's harder because the test makers have to be able to separate the students. If all the sections were the same, if Section 1 and if Section 3 were the same difficulty level as Sections 1 and 2, well then how are you going to know the difference between a 5 student and a 7 student? Right? They do things to be able to separate students by their levels. That's why it's done that way. Okay? So this has been a review of the question types that you have to deal with on the general reading section. And now we're going to move into our next lectures. Our next lecture.
So, stop, share. Okay, I hope that one helped you out. I'll be sending tong... No, oh wait, sorry.
Okay, and welcome to the general reading.
Sorry. Saan ang Zoom? Yeah, it's 7 o'clock. So again, it's another 1 hour to, as usual, it's your practice time sa exam. So I'll be sending out. Romel, Maribel, okay lang kayo? What's up?
Okay lang po, ma'am.
Ipapadala ko yung exam, reading exam for today. So it's 60 minutes, 1 hour. Try to answer it. Padala ko sa WhatsApp natin, batch 5, no? Saan ang batch 5? Padala ko sa WhatsApp. Where is it? Ano nakapadala? Okay, yun. So, tama. On time lang tayo. 1 hour. Do you have any questions? Class? Reading. Padala ko yung exam. Padala ko rin yung answer sheet. So answer it, class. If you have your own, again, if you have your own printer, we can print this. I also send out yung answer sheet na isa. Yung if you're doing the paper base. So check your WhatsApp now. Again, I'll send yung reading strategy kanina na napanood nyo. I'll send out yung PDF form niya. Where is it? So this one. So just let me know, Maribel, Moromel, tingnan nyo yung WhatsApp nyo. Did you receive all? I've sent out 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. 4 documents.
Yes
So
po.
class, hi class.
1, 2, 3. Apat.
Please. Nakuha nyo na?
Yes
Please
po.
Yes, ma'am.
answer the reading test. Yes. Today. Answer sheets are attached. Answer key, and sheet are attached. Okay. So, do you have any questions? Huwag niyo pansinin yung mga dumadaan sa likod ko.